Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton. And today I have another guest that comes from kind of the same thing I've been talking about lately, is connecting with people and trying to build your network. And we come from kind of the same speaking school of our I call him Yoda, which is Rene Rodriguez. He's the guy that helps us get the confidence to get on stage. But I think it's really important, the message that we're going to hear today, and especially in the mortgage space. And I just welcome to the show, Jonathon.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really do. You know, it's funny. People always say, I appreciate you having me here. It's just been so surreal over the last 60 to 90 days. I've had so many people reach out for speaking engagements and podcasts, and it's very humbling, and it feels good every single time. You never know what you're walking into, so it's always a blast. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, and I definitely want to talk about that. It's interesting sometimes you don't know the motive behind the podcast you're being asked to come on or the speaking engagement, right? So like I've learned some lessons along the way over the last couple of years with that, for me to do a little research and make sure that somebody I know already knows them, kind of deal. So that's good. But you know, the first thing I want to talk about is what kind of impact has Rene Rodriguez had on your business and career since you started working with him?
I haven't had a mentor like Rene since my last mentor died. I've never taken, he passed away 6 years ago, my mentor. It's on my wrist. I've never taken it off. For 6 years, I bought 100 of these. I'll be buried with this. I really will. And I've been craving that for a really long time. And being in the role that I'm in and owning a company, you can't really turn to a lot of people, right? Because not everybody's dealing with what you're dealing with, and it's hard to find mentors. So meeting Rene, I've seen him a few times, saw his videos, knew nothing about him, from that aspect. The guy is just unbelievable. His ability to make you feel confident is something that I've just never experienced before. And so he's been pouring into me so much, like he does so many others. And it's sometimes crazy to understand how he finds the time to do all of this and talk to all of us the way that he does. But I can't even express what this guy means to me in words, because it's deeper than that. And so I recommend, you got to just get to know him. You got to get to talk to him. You got to get to see his heart, see where his head is. The guy is the real deal, and he wants to see you win. And he just knows how to navigate any conversation. It's mind-blowing to see him navigate any conversation. So I can go on, but I want to keep it at that.
Yeah, I could too. And just to share with you real quick and some of the listeners today, that January 2022 was the first time I went to Amplify. So almost 3 years ago. And I've been to 4 AMP cons, and but the Amplify event is the more intimate, and it changed my life, like literally changed the trajectory of my life from that 2-day experience. Since then, I've left the mortgage space. I've become a keynote speaker on stages all over the country. I opened up my own coaching practice. I wrote a best-selling book. I have a podcast. Like, these are all things that came from getting the confidence of sharing and telling my story and understanding how important that was from that meeting in that room. So you never know what's going to happen when you go to an event or invest in yourself. And it was that one thing that changed the trajectory for me. And here we are on a podcast, so.
What's crazy? Sorry, Chris.
No,
yeah. I just wanted one story, and you talked about the confidence. And first of all, like, it just made me feel so good. Hey, I exited the mortgage space. I'm doing keynotes. I got a coaching company. People don't realize how hard that is. And obviously you're not going to talk about yourself that way. And I will. It's people don't understand how difficult that is to transition out of one career into something like that. So that's a huge, huge success. And I hope you feel incredible about that. And Rene is such a key part of that. And obviously you feel the same way with what you told, but we just, I had an event called Fuse, and it was in New Orleans. It's a huge event that we throw at AIME once a year. Renee's there. He did a keynote, and he was there coaching me, helping me out. So we had Ed Milet, okay? We had Ed Milet come on, and he did such a wonderful job. But I'm backstage, and I'm waiting to go up there and close out the show. So as I get up, after Ed Milet's getting ready to finish, Rene grabs me, puts it on my arm. He goes, listen to me. He said, just remember, I don't care if it's Ed Milet. I don't care if it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They're here because of you.
Yep.
So you go out there, you thank them, but you don't fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, my face lit up because I'm like, oh my God, he's right. And that perspective is what Renee's so good at giving you, is these little perspectives all the way through. And so something I just wanted to share, just shout out to Renee. There's just not enough things you could say about the man.
Yeah. One of the things I've realized and been getting into these circles and, being able to have one-on-one time with some of these people or just see them speak multiple times, there's really nothing special about them that separates them between you and I. They've just been doing something a little bit longer, right? They've had intentional focus and they've gone after it a little bit longer. There's nothing really different. That was like an epiphany for me going, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I can win at a really high level from speaking and coaching. I love Ed. Ed's been one of my, online mentors forever. I was in his group coaching program for years. Right. But there's not a lot separating that. And there's such a fine line between the people that crush it, the top 1%, and the ones that don't. And it all comes down to action, right? It all comes down to consistent long-term action in the same direction. Right. So I want to talk about your mortgage business, right? You've had a successful mortgage business and you're in the Metro Detroit area. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in quite a few states, but I'm in the Metro Detroit.
Yeah. So just a brief, those of you that are on here that don't understand the mortgage space, forgive me. I'm sorry. Like, I do have a lot of people that aren't in the mortgage space. What I want you to understand is that Jonathon has a mortgage company and a mortgage company just produced at a massive high level. I mean, just really crushed it for a very, very long time. Then he became the president of AIME. So I'll let you break down what AIME is.
Yep. So I have a mortgage company, Next Door Lending. I've been in the mortgage space for 11 years. I started at 21 years old. I'm 33 now. And then I also am the CEO of AIME, the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. And we have over 20,000 mortgage brokers as part of this community. And basically what we do with inside of that community is just continue to educate our people that we have. We educate consumers. We educate real estate agents. It's a massive educational platform to teach people about the nuances of home ownership and to just make it easier to understand why using a mortgage broker is in the best interest for consumers. We really believe that. I'm first generation Middle Eastern American. My family moved to this country in the 80s. Like, home ownership and understanding how that worked was not a thing that we had growing up. That wasn't something we understood. My dad was very fortunate to buy a house. He didn't understand how he got the house. He didn't know about real estate. He wasn't buying properties. And so I take a lot of pride in it. And I don't use that word lightly because pride is something that can really hurt some people. But I take a lot of pride in the fact that I believe in home ownership for everybody in this country. And so that's something that I keep instilling inside of the community. And plus, I came from the retail environment. Retail is things like Chase, Wells Fargo. I come from that environment. And so I want to be able to showcase, hey, there were some things that we did in retail, but at the end of the day, it's best to use a mortgage broker. So it's they go hand in hand, both companies. I still write loans. I still originate. I'm a father of two. They're twins, a boy and a girl, and I got a third on the way. So it's just been a whole massive environment of constantly navigating and moving through, in and out, and weaving out of the webs constantly between the two organizations that I lead.
So, I mean, you're doing great in the mortgage space with your business. What made you want to take on that role at AIME?
So, I mean, I'll tell you the truth. For the longest time, I've wanted to be in the public light. I've always talked about it for 15 years. And I made every excuse in the book, every excuse you could think of. Oh, wait until I get in better shape. Wait until I get a six-pack. Wait until I'm eating healthier. Oh, wait until I get my health in order. Oh, wait. I just kept giving you every excuse. I don't post on social media because of this. And the opportunity came in front of me. And I went home. I talked to my wife about it. I prayed. And then there's a cross on my wall. I looked at that cross on the wall and I just said, okay, now it's time. And that was it. That was truly all it took for me to take it on. They heard me speak at AIME several times. So the previous leadership heard me speak multiple times. They've seen me on stage. And so they presented it in front of me. I submitted a resume and did all that. But accepting the role was a whole different beast. And I took so much heat my first 30 days. It was crazy. I mean, I was getting pummeled left and right. And after the third day of getting pummeled, I mean, people were some of the craziest things I've ever seen being written about me from people I've never met in my life.
Yeah.
And first couple days were tough, but after the third day, I woke up with a massive smile on my face. My wife's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I said, "Babe, I'm not dead. I'm not dead." I was like, "This is good. I can do this." And after that, the rest of it's just history, and I've just been running ever since.
So, you know what's funny about the negative pieces that people talk to you about on social media? The people that are posting those on your about that, like say you have you post about, there's a post about you, and then they come in and post negative. They don't understand that boosts the algorithm. So so what they think they're doing actually isn't happening. I'm going to talk whatever you want, because what happens is it just gets more interaction on that algorithm, whatever that thing boosts to the moon. So, hey, I take the negative with the good, whatever it is, let's move on. Right.
100%. And with one of the things I learned early on, like, do I want to engage? Sometimes, of course I do. I'm a human
Oh
being.
gosh,
Like
dude, it's so
I'm a
hard
human
not to.
being. Yeah. My background's not like, people don't know, like that's
Mhm.
how I grew up. It's like, you hash it out. Like you
Yeah,
really
same,
hash it out.
same.
And
Yeah.
so obviously I still have a little bit of that in me. But the truth of the matter is this: if I engage with negativity, think about this for a second. I believe in this in my heart. If I engage in negativity constantly, that means whatever time that takes is taking away from people that rely on me. That's crazy for me to think
Mhm.
about. Imagine waking up every day and spending an hour hating and posting about negativity and bullshit all
Mhm.
day. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
People are counting on you to be great. Like, my family counts on me. My mom, my dad, my wife, my kids, my brother, my sister. Everybody's counting on me. And here I am doing what? So I can't even comprehend that, wasting my time on something that's negative. It's just very difficult for me to do that at this stage in my life.
Well, you have 20,000 mortgage brokers counting on you too to be a leader,
Yes.
right? To be a true leader, because there's been some bad leadership in the past in AIME. I'll just leave it at that. But you know what I mean? So like, there's just been some stuff that you and I don't agree with, I'm sure. Um, but it comes down to, here's a question for you that I've had a lot lately with some of my hiring clients and some of the consulting stuff I'm doing. Do you have to closely monitor how you cut your time? Because obviously you have all these people that are looking up to you now. How do you make sure you give to your family what you need to give to them?
This has been the hardest thing ever. I don't believe in a work-life balance. I believe in
Yeah.
life balance. My life just happens to have a lot of work in it. Uh, I also love people, and the reality of the situation is this: I have to be in a place where if people want to meet with me, I have to force them to be as articulate and to the point as I possibly can. And so we've done a lot of steps. One of the things we did, and by we I mean my admins, I have multiple now. I don't have a choice. I mean, it's
Yeah.
truly getting pulled in so many directions, and I want to help. I want to get on calls constantly, but you need a barrier. And the more you grow in your role, I don't care. You need that person, that they have to be the tough person for you, right? Hey, John can't do it on this day. Like I know John said he can
Yeah.
meet with you tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. We're going to have to push you out 2 weeks. But John said, no, it doesn't matter what John said. We're saying this.
Yeah.
So they've created so many boundaries for me where we work in 15-minute increments. The other thing is I schedule on Sundays with my wife. So my wife and I sit down on Sunday. We go through the calendar together. And hey, babe, here's dinner I have. Here's this that I have. I can come home at this time early. I can leave early this day. Is there any day you need me to be home early? Is there anything I have to do with the kids this week? It's a lot of communication, particularly on Sundays. And at first, my wife, I love her so much. At first, she was like, what are we doing? A calendar? Like, what is this? And I felt a little, oh God, oh no, I don't hope this doesn't go south. But it didn't. And after a few weeks of doing that, my wife loves it. It really helps our relationship. It helps me stay on track with the family. She knows all the big things I have going on, but it's also our time to communicate with one another. And I think that's the biggest issue with relationships, whether they're business or personal. If you're not communicating with your business partners, with your significant other, you're screwed. And by communication, I don't mean how's your day? I mean, sit down. Hey, walk me through your Monday. What did
Yeah.
you do? Okay, tell me about it. How was your lunch? How was your dinner? What's an impact that you had? And we lose sight of that with our loved ones a lot, where you just ask so many general questions. And I have to now, like, I don't want to say forced, but up front it was forced. I had to force, hey, babe, how did it go with the kids yesterday?
Mhm.
Okay, walk me through what they ate. Oh my God, did they like it? Did they not like it? What didn't they like about yesterday? All of this stuff is a big deal, and we take a lot of time on Sunday to preface that. And then having your boundaries and barriers in place are two huge opportunities for people to take advantage of.
Yeah, I agree. Coaching takes a lot of mental bandwidth, right? Like, I mean, somebody said, I was on a call yesterday and I said, they were upset about something. I said, okay, can I put something in perspective? She said, yeah. I said, well, you're my fifth client I've talked to today. Can you imagine having 5 people dump on you all day? Because that's what's happened to me. So how did I present myself when I got on the call? She goes, you were ready to go. I said, exactly. You should be doing the same from a leadership role. Like, that's just what it is. And some days my wife will go, you had a lot of calls today, didn't you? I go, how can you tell? She goes, because you're not saying anything. Like, you can only say, I'm a firm believer there's only so many words your brain can produce a day. Like you just, like, when I go to conferences, I'm so mentally exhausted at the end of each day because my brain's working at such a high level. Just what can I learn? What can I learn? What can I learn? Right. And then the evenings, I've got to shut it down. And when I fly back home on the same day, like a day later after a conference, I just can't function because my brain is still trying to process everything that happened. So I wanted to dig more back into AIME. Like, what's going on with AIME right now? Like, what are you excited about with AIME?
Yeah, so I got so much excitement. Honest to God, it's been crazy just meeting all the people I've been fortunate enough to meet right now. My thing is this: it's our motto's simple: help brokers close more loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want the community to be as positive as humanly possible. We've put a lot of parameters in place to make our Facebook group that has 16,000 members as positive and as focused on growing yourself. Another thing is making sure people take self-accountability. One of the advantages that I have being in this role is I still write loans, and I write loans at a very high level. And so I can have direct conversations with a lot of these loan officers because they'll listen because why? I'm doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
I'm not just sitting here telling you what to do and then, sailing off into the sunset and not practicing what I preach. I'm legitimately practicing what I preach every day. And so it's been really easy for me to have these conversations and have people have a lot of self-accountability. Everything that you have in this world is completely on you. And how you handle situations is completely on you. And there's people in this world, believe it or not, that don't even have that opportunity. So we have to have a lot of perspective coming into this role. And that's been the most difficult challenge, is changing people's dynamic, changing their perspective. It's been a rough 2 years for the mortgage industry. And so a lot of people are upset and they're irritated. And you have to make sure that you as a leader, you sympathize a little bit with them because it's important to do that. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do to make sure you don't have to deal with that ever again? And that's been our entire focus, all coaching, all sales tips, sales scripting, mindset calls, positivity. That's been the thing I'm most excited about after the first 30 days of getting, crushed over there in terms of the negativity.
Well, you had to change the culture a little bit. You're bringing in something different, right? So like your leadership is something different than what they had before. You can expect blowback. There's a lot of jealousy. I mean, you're obviously incredibly young, right? So there's that. I mean, look, anybody that agrees to take on that role, I don't care how old they are. Like that's a tough job. So I want to talk on the more mortgage specific questions. So those of you listening that aren't in the mortgage space, you might get bored with this part, but so your business, your mortgage company, are you a non-delegated correspondent or are you just straight broker still?
We have a mix of both on my end here, but we're like 50-50 right now.
Okay. When you look at, I always wondered this question too, is they talk about, first Matt Ishbia is a great dude. Like he came and did in 2018, he came and did a sales meeting at my mortgage company, and we're a small, like he literally got on a plane and flew down and like came in and did a sale. Like it was the craziest thing ever. And so I love Matt. I mean, I just love what he's done. And a lot of people don't agree with UWM. I don't care what they agree with or no, but the guy knows how to run a business and make money. So like, obviously he owns the Phoenix Suns. Like it doesn't get much. That's like being knighted in the US. Like you get a sports franchise, right? So my question is, I see some people that I wouldn't think would fall into the realm of the brokers or better type piece that are, and I won't call out any names here. This isn't a name show, but like they have a strong retail presence, but also wholesale. And I see them kind of intertwined with some of the stuff. And I feel like that's kind of counterintuitive to what AIME was originally. Like the brokers are better type of role. Like, oh yeah, we're going to broker with you, but then you've got this massive retail presence and you're going to take all my clients and try to refi them. Like that was always a fear for my people.
Um, you might have to elaborate on the question. So for me, with the retail space, like we don't have any retail lenders. Is that what you're asking? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that come to the AIME events and stuff that have a good wholesale business, but they also have a good retail presence too.
We've been pretty good about separating that from my understanding. I'll
Okay.
go back and double check because, like, companies like EPM, they're stopped doing their retail not long ago.
Mhm.
The other thing too, we rebranded. Where brokers are best now,
Okay.
not brokers are better. So we got rid of that negative connotation that had a lot of just people not really feeling that vibe and that energy. So we did a whole rebrand to brokers are best. AIME, also Association of Independent Mortgage Experts. We've made adjustments on our end too very early on. The board met. We had a huge board meeting with our top people, and we talked about the broker space and who's allowed in and who's not allowed in. But we're pretty dialed into making sure there aren't that focus from the retail side. So
Okay.
we have a company, for instance, Windsor. They have very,
Mhm.
very little retail presence just in
Yeah.
South Dakota, but we
Yeah.
have a lot of
Chris Benson's a
protection.
real good personal. He's a personal friend of
Oh,
mine
he's
too. I
the
love Chris.
best.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
No,
just had
Chris is
dinner with him
amazing.
last night, believe it
Yeah.
or not. So if you want to elaborate more, I'll kind of explain, but I'm trying to think of our lenders, and I don't
I,
like
I
retail
mean,
presence wise. We've been pretty good about making sure we have the
yeah. I
separation and
mean, so
protecting the
like,
community.
I can give so KP.
Yeah, PRMG. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
PRMG. We've
I
had
yeah.
we've had a lot of real conversations with them early on. That's a good one. That's my
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of good conversations with them. Very very early on, just protecting the broker space. They had a couple things come through the cracks there that we had to really get in front of early on. But KP's been all about it. He's been
Mhm.
hovering all over it, protecting it, separating it between the broker side and the retail side, and he's put a lot of parameters in place. But to your point, I have to protect it. That's my goal. And
Yeah.
so if things do change and things don't work in our favor for our organization, these are additional tough conversations I have to have with every lender that has that small piece of retail regardless. But right now
Yeah.
we've
It
built
was a
really good parameters.
so yeah. I never considered Chris in that space. Chris, I tell you what Chris did for us during he saved us during COVID. Like we were non-delegated correspondent and our warehouse lines were getting maxed out, right? Because we
Oh,
were doing 40 to 50 million a month. And we had like a $40 million warehouse line, which is all you needed in normal times. So you
yeah.
could fund stuff in 7 days. Started getting backed up. And then Chris started table funding stuff for us, non-delegated correspondent table funding. He was funding 10 million a week for me. Like because we were doing 80 million, 90 million in business then all of a sudden, right? And so we would have never made, like we literally had broker agreements with everybody ready to turn the switch and go full broker if we had to, which would have put us out of business because we operated at a high level, 100 and some employees. It's hard to run with that many employees and salaries and stuff and run true broker, right? So Chris saved us. So Chris wasn't that. But I just always concerned about, and I know Kevin personally too, but the PRMG piece was for a while, their account executives were our account executives, but they would also try to get people in your company to leave and go open up branches. Like it was like this, like this whole, like, what is
Where
happening
was
right
your
now?
office out of?
In Orlando, Lake Mary, Florida.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just curious. Yeah.
Certified mortgage planners. So certified mortgage planners
Okay.
is where I was at. But yeah.
It's just funny. Like even I'm learning much because I've been in Michigan. So for
Yeah.
some reason, I'm in the mortgage mecca. But we have there's two companies here. Like
Exactly.
that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
that's kind of what I knew growing up was the two companies. I didn't learn about all these other ones until I got into the broker world. But I hear the stuff you're saying. It's I hear it in like Florida, Texas,
Mhm.
California, Arizona.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that there's an entire other ballpark of mortgages going on that's outside
Mhm.
of Michigan because I've been so naive for so
Yeah.
long to think that just everything's here.
Yeah.
But no, that's those are real conversations, man. Like those are real conversations that we have to have, and we've been having them. And I'm hoping there's not more of that going on because I've had a lot of very direct conversations, but I can't sit here and tell you with 100% confidence that that's not the case. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm removed from the space on that
yeah,
piece, but I'm just was like, I've always wanted to ask that question. Um,
no, it's a good question. I don't.
but
I wish I had like a better answer. I just haven't dealt with a lot of it except for early on, like the first 60 days. I for sure did.
yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, I'm sure Matt's very involved. Is Matt's very, very involved in AIMS too? Like, is his UWM or?
So they're our title sponsor. Someone asked me this question the other day. They're like, "So how often do you talk to Matt?" I said, "Once a month if I'm lucky."
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so busy right now. We have good conversations. They're brief, they're short, and then I talk a lot to Chris. Honestly, Eddie Perez has been my biggest
Mhm.
mentor right now. Just to be
Yeah,
real with you, he's been
sure.
pouring into me. I talk to him 2 or 3 times a week. Chris Vincent's another guy. Had dinner with him yesterday. Just been pouring into me, just getting to know him. But yeah, UWM, they're a title sponsor. We still have awesome conversations, just talking about the broker space, things that they're doing, things that we're doing, talking about an alignment, talking about just the how to grow and get to 50% market share. I mean, that's the biggest push for us right now. We
Mhm.
will get to 50% market share, and we're going to need the help from our sponsors to get to that portion of it. I really believe that.
So 50% of the business done, you believe will be done by broker shops or broker
Yeah, it's at
organizations?
26% right now. It's gone up significantly over the last decade,
Yeah.
and I really believe that the more transitions you're seeing right now, you're going to see a lot of it. My only, I don't want to say concern, but there's a refi boom around the corner. Interest rates
Yeah.
have started to drop. Retail does very good in that space. I was there
Mhm.
for 6 years. I was really good at it.
Yeah.
And so we have to get in front of those opportunities, right? The refinances. Mortgage brokers own the purchase market share. So what I mean by
Yeah.
that is purchases that happen in this country, homeowners getting into a home, majority is actually done by mortgage brokers. However, refinance market share is owned by retail originators. So why is that? It's because they have systems and processes and they're calling all day long
Mhm.
constantly. So for us to get to 50%, we have to get in front of our past clients. We have to get in front of future clients that are looking to refinance. And we have to stop prejudging. Stop assuming a client doesn't need help because they have a 4% interest rate. You don't know unless you're willing to have conversations. And that's a lot of the changes and the focuses that we're making.
So I literally helped one of my clients. She's a big retail side, like 50 to 70 million is like kind of her range every year. And she's like 90% purchase business. Um, and I helped her create a email campaign over the last couple of days to go after, because she's like, well, I have so many people that have like 3% rates in my database. I said, no, we're going to create a campaign. We're going to focus on the pain points of needing to refinance because all the credit card debt they're in now. And I'm a big AI guy. So I go into Chat GPT and I put this book in, which is Phil Jones, Exactly What to Say. I don't know if you know who Phil Jones is or not, but Phil Jones is the man. You need to check him out. I have a podcast with him a couple episodes ago, which is a great podcast. But so he writes a book, Exactly What to Say. I said, Chat GPT, be Phil Jones. These are the pain points I want you to do. I need you to create an email campaign to mail to my database from a mortgage broker's perspective. Boom. They created 6 emails. I gave it to her. She put it in a drip campaign this week. So look, those of you listening here is like, oh God, I can't
That's
keep up
so
my
good.
database. Dude, Chat GPT will
Taking a
help you
note.
create what you need to create in a matter of minutes. Like a matter of minutes. Like do the work. But yeah, I mean, but that is so simple to do. And the reason why they lose out on the refinance business is because they're really bad at following up. They're really good at selling up front and getting the deal because their pricing's great or whatever, or they have a one-off product. They're really good at face forward selling to the financial advisor piece and also to the realtor space. But they're really bad at following through on the back end. Like they just are. Like that's just notorious. Like great salespeople's follow up is not the best. So you have all these databases that are just sitting there and they're not following up the way they should. Like you should talk refinance all the time. All the time. I've refinanced properties when the rates were high as they possibly could be because I needed to do it to cash out to buy something else or whatever. Like you want to stay in their space with that. Don't go overboard with the refis. But if you can't run 30% refi business, I think you're just missing the boat. And we missed the
100%.
boat as a company during the last refi boom. We were still running 85% purchase business during the highest peaks of refi because we didn't have you're right, the processes, the systems in place to do it, the discipline to get on the phone and make the calls. I was talking with a guy yesterday that used to work for me. He's like, I'm thinking about getting out and going to a bank. I said, okay. I said, this is one of two things is going to happen. You're going to go back to a 9-to-5 job and you're going to go, you know what? I'm a 9-to-5 guy and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Or you're going to go back and you're going to realize, man, if I would have just worked 9-to-5 on my business like I have to do for this bank's business, I would have been killing it. And that's really what it comes down to, is they have so much freedom to do nothing, right? Like that's the downfall. Is like, I
It's
don't,
true.
like, and that's why I crushed it. That's why you crushed it, Jonathan, because I didn't believe in the do nothing. I believe in going after it and getting aggressive and working every day to be better than I am the day before, right? And that's the difference.
No, it's so like everything you're saying is spot on, and it's hard for some people to hear. I think that's been the craziest part because I'll have people tell me this is my favorite thing to do. John, I'm just so busy throughout the day. All right, no problem. Pull up your calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Pull up your calendar. And I pull up their calendar, and it's just guess what? Blank. Like one thing's in there, blank. The rest is blank. And I said, look, I understand you're busy, but I think you're busy with what you believe you're busy with. You don't have an actual game plan as to what you should be doing every day. Like, okay, walk me through this. Why don't you reach out to your past clients at least an hour a day? Where is that in your calendar?
Yep.
Well, I every once in a while. No. That's not what I asked. Why isn't it done on a weekly basis? Why are you not consistent with it? The reason you get overwhelmed is because you're not consistent in your actions on a daily and weekly basis. That's why you're overwhelmed. And right now, you're not. Yes, during COVID, you were making 50, 60 grand a month. Okay, fine. That was COVID. That's because rates were 199. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
That's gone. And if you're going to still live on the past, you're going to have a hard time dealing with the future.
Yeah. I had this conversation with some realtors, and I did a group call the other day for some people. And I said, I want you to go back in time. And they'd all been in the business 10, 12 years. I said, I want you to go back to 2018, 2019. Like, okay. And I said, how hard was the business then? Well, we had this and that was hard. I said, yep, right. How was it in 2020 and 2021? What was hard about it? Well, it was hard. We had multiple offers. We had this, we had to work more hours. Yeah, you're right. It was hard. And then 2022 and 2023, and now 2024. It's always been hard. It's just a different hard. Like my top clients are having their best years ever right now in 2024. You know why? Because they understand that it's always hard. They just have to figure out what to do next, because what they did last year isn't going to work. And I mean, I have clients that are absolutely just going to knock the ball, cover off the ball compared to what they did during COVID times. Like, why? Because they understand that it's always hard, and you got to go do it. And too many people, what I call pretenders, were in the market back in 2020 and 2021. That was your local bartender at Applebee's, and now they have a license, and now they're doing all this stuff, right? And I said, hey, watch when the market turns. There's going to be a lot of good deals on Maseratis and Rolex watches, because everybody bought a Maserati and a Rolex, right? So like you can buy Maseratis and Rolexes super cheap now because they got to make their mortgage payment. But too many people got in. They never had to figure out how to sell and do it right. See, Jonathan, guys like you and I, we're salespeople, right? Like you could drop me off in anywhere in the world. If I could speak the language or learn the language, I could survive. Why? Because I can sell. It doesn't matter what it is. And I think the same's with you. We can sell. And that's the difference between the people that are consistently killing it and the ones that aren't. Like Amir. Love Amir, right? Amir is just like, he's a salesman, right? Mike Hajar, another buddy of mine.
Yep.
Salesman. Like they can sell whatever they need to sell, right? And I think that's where the biggest breakdown is right now, is they forgot their salespeople.
They did. And it's funny. I have this talk with people. They're like, oh, well, sales has a negative connotation. I'm like, I'm not Matilda's dad.
Yeah.
That's what people think. I go, look, the best salespeople I know are the best communicators I've ever met in my life. So sales just to me is high level communication. That's truly what it means to me. So I do people, oh, you like being called a sales? Yes, I do. I enjoy being called a salesperson because I'm good at it, and I love to learn how to communicate even better, and I have to get better at it. I have to get great at it. I'm not great at it. I'm good. How am I going to be great? Just continue to learn how to communicate more effectively to people. If you're saying that's not going to help you in your life in any shape, way, or form, you're naive. What else is going to help you? I mean, truly, what else is going to help you? So for anybody out there with the negative connotations towards sales, I mean, just ask yourself this: how good are you at communicating? And if you're not that good, do you want to be better? So go read the sales books. Go read it from good human beings that actually care and want to help you grow and succeed. that's just where I stand on that. I just want to make sure I get that point across because I hate when people have a negative connotation towards it.
Look, my first sales job was selling cars. You know what I mean? Like they already hated me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they hated me from day one. Like that's, so I figured out a way to be different. And it was over communicate. It was follow up. It was treat them the right way, right? Like someone said, what kind of CRM did you use? I said, there was no CRM in 1991. I literally had this long plastic box that held index cards. And every time a customer would come in, I would get their phone number, name, and information put on an index card. And it had 1 through 31 in numbers. And then it had the months, right? All the months, and then then the alphabet. And literally, you would take when you needed to call someone, you'd put it in that month spot. Okay, I'm gonna need to call them back on the 6th. Boom, it's in the 6th. Okay. Now these are all the people I need to call back in November. So November hits. Okay, here's the dates. And you put it in there and you would open it up and you make your phone calls. And you write your notes on the back of it. That was my CRM. And every day before I went to lunch when I started selling cars, I had to make 10 fresh phone contacts a day before you were allowed to leave for lunch. And you know how we did that, Jonathan? The phone book. I had a phone book and I had to open it and call people out of the phone book, cold call them.
Was that hard?
Yeah.
Your version of hard. You see what I'm saying? Your version of hard though, right? Yep.
And see if they were interested in buying a car. I'm literally calling you. You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. You happen to be in the market for a car? Are you looking for anybody else that might be? You had to have 10 phone calls. And if you faked it, our sales managers would randomly call people on the list to verify you called. So I learned how to not be afraid of the phone super fast.
You have to.
Like that was it. You know?
It's funny, man. You know, you talked about the different hard 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 now. And then look at that, 1991. Look at that definition of hard. It's like, would the same, think about this, you know, would the people today have made it back then in the sales role? The truth of the matter is, Chris, the answer is no. Most people would not have been able to do it back then. No. So it's like you have it so much easier today than you did in the past, especially with the technology, all the access to information on how to sell. You can go to YouTube and listen to people sell. You don't have to go to these seminars all the time. You don't have to go read all the books all the time. It's gotten so much easier to access information, yet we find an excuse as to why things are too difficult for us to do.
Yep.
And that's just why I put a smile on my face, especially the manager calling. Like that's something that's the environment I grew up in retail. Yeah. It's like, okay, trust but verify. Okay, no problem. You did it. I'm just going to verify real quick. And it's just crazy to see the accountability. And that's what makes you great at what you do. You understand accountability, and now you have so much more self-accountability because you were held accountable for so many years, and so many people run from accountability. That to me just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like when I actually do a deep dive conversation with someone before I bring them on as a client, because unlike a lot of people, I don't just bring anybody on as clients. Like I literally, you got to be that high tier client, right? And I say, on a level of 0 to 10, how accountable do you want me to hold you? And if they say less than 10, we're just not a good fit. I'm just not going to be a good fit because like, I'm not here just to take your money, right? I'm here to give you 10x return on your money. Like that's what it's about, right? That's you're on a phone call with me because you're not getting the accountability you need somewhere else. That's why you're on the phone with me. And that's why we're going to do something different. So no, that's really what it is. And if you look at that and I said, okay, well, I was working 6 days a week. I had to make at least 60 cold calls. Well, if I didn't have like 5 or 6 appointments out of 60 random phone calls, then they were questioning me if I was actually doing it. Think about that. Like that's 10% of this. That's not like, and then you had to keep a certain standard when you talk to people on the lot. If you didn't get 25% of the people you greeted on the lot on a contract on paper, then you weren't allowed to catch calls off the lot anymore. You had to just live off the phones until you did it again. Like it was, I mean, but there was no choice. That's just how it was. You wanted to be great. That's what you did. You did the work. Now it's like, well, I'm going to refinance. I'm going to do mortgages for all my buddies. And now I'm a top tier mortgage broker. And I'm wondering why I can't pay my rent. Well, because you haven't done any work. It's that simple.
I love the realness, man. I mean, it's true. That's the problem. It's just true. I love the accountability piece. I ask people that, hey, you know, when I ask them about accountability, would you like me to hold you accountable? When they say yes, I look at them funny and I say, well, you didn't ask me what it means for me to hold you accountable first. Are you sure? would you like to ask me what it means to hold you accountable? Yes, actually, let me start there. Okay, great. And then I walk them through the process. But I love that because people, your instinct says, say yes. Yeah, I can do it. I'm ready to run. I'm ready for war. No, you're not. No, most people are not just ready, myself included. There's a lot of practice, a preparation, conversations, internalization that has to occur for you to be ready. So stop trying to skip the line. Stop trying to jump ahead. That's something that we got to continue to instill into people. And what it does? It brings out the best versions of them.
Yes.
Athletes, football players. I asked them, I said, when you look back on your life, which coach was your favorite coach? They'll tell me the coach's name. I go, how hard was that coach on you? Almost every time they say, wow, honestly, one of the hardest coaches I ever had.
Yep.
But it's not till later you realize how impactful and important that person was. Why? Because they're extracting the best of you. And you just might not feel it at that time. So I love that you do that with your people.
Yeah. Well, my coach holds me to a high standard too. Like, we'll set a goal for me to do certain things. And if I don't get it, he'll fine me $1,000 or he'll fine me $10,000. Like, I'm not like, I paid a couple of those fines. My wife's like, what are you Venmoing your coach for? What the heck is that? Like, so, well, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. She's like, that better never happen again.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I share that because I want people to know I'm also being held to a high standard of accountability. It's not just me barking at everybody, right? Like I go after that. I mean, I want to be held accountable and do those things. So, but look, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy and making time for me. And those of you that have been to AMPCons, we're the two individuals that have been pulled on the last 2 years on stage and handed a microphone and told to speak. So that was that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to reach out to Jonathon, because we both survived that. Renee likes to just say, hey, I got a special guest speaker. Here's the microphone. So we did that, and that has a lot to do with Renee, making sure we're always ready. But man, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time out. If there's anything I can ever do, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me in front of your audience. Thank you for the opportunity just to talk to people. And honestly, man, thanks for being real. Thanks for being upfront. Thanks for just hitting people between the eyes. This is stuff people need to hear. And this is what's going to help you become the best version of you. Because if you're not trying to strive to be that person, I really don't know why else we're here in this world. I really don't. So that's just where I stand.
Thank you for tuning into the One Hand at a Time podcast. Please make sure you like and share the episode. And we'll see you next time here at the One Hand at a Time podcast. Make it a great day.